Hi, everybody. Tommy here from Queers and Soaps. I just wanted to introduce you to some friends of mine who are about to embark on some fun soap opera discussion. So tune in and enjoy, and I will see you soon.
Hello, welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Eric and joined today with my guest host, Karen.
Yay, I'm back.
Yeah, we're back for five more episodes of Swan's Crossing. So, Tommy, will roll the credits and we'll get right into it. Wow. I had to watch episode six twice. I had no idea what was happening. I'm like, I, I was, I felt like I needed to be drugged for this episode.
Episode 6 is really strange because it seems like too much is happening and yet nothing is happening at all.
Right? And didn't it go by in like 2 minutes? I felt like it was like so fast.
So when they said, okay, so when Mila falls in the water and says she can't swim, it sounds like it's 15 minutes of her in the water. And somebody
Yeah.
Neil, I think Neil actually yells, they've only been in the water for 7.5 seconds.
I know, right? All right, so before we get into this in depth into this episode, I did some investigating because I felt bad about like pissing on the writers last week. So I looked them up just to see what they did. I was out of curiosity. So number one, we got the creator is Marty Kravitz, is her name. She wrote for Ryan's Hope, wrote for Loving, and Another World. She also did an after school special called A Teacher's Story, which I want to look into because I'm curious about what a teacher's story would be in 1980 something. Out of
I'm a little
curiosity.
worried about what that story would be actually if it was 1986.
Yeah. And then the other creator is Ned Candell. I don't know if that I'm saying that right, but he produces Are You Afraid of the Dark? You know
I
that
love that
series?
show. I love that show.
So he produces like I think he had to do with like every one of them. I think even up to the current day stuff.
Wow.
Apparently it's still around. I don't know anything about it, but I just know it's big, like a big thing. And we have another writer, Panina Spiegel, her name is, which is a fun name. She wrote for Days of Our Lives in 1986. All right, so that covers basically the writers and creators of that. Also, I looked into some of our cast members because I was like, were they in soaps? Owen was in As the World Turns and All My Children.
Wow.
Mila was in Dawson's Creek, who Tommy's doing Dawson's Creek, and also I think Tommy's a fan of Sweet Valley High, and she's I think a main girl in that. Did you remember Sweet Valley High at all?
I never watched the television show, but I did read the
But
book.
you read the books.
Yeah,
I
I read
remember
the
my
book.
sister had the books, but I don't know if she even read them. I'm not sure.
They're
But
not
anyway,
they're like, I don't know. They're just the same as this is. It's like teen drama
like
soap
a
style.
teeny drama.
Yeah, it's
And
fun.
she was also in a soap that I want you to watch eventually called North Shore.
Oh.
And Callie was in Loving. So I'm like, all right, we got a lot of soaps. So let's get into this. Can you guess my favorite character?
Is it Mila's mom? Because she's great.
All right. So this Countess Valeria Rosnovsky is her name.
Rosnovsky, yeah.
She's in a bunch of soaps, so we're gonna see her around. And we're probably gonna, when we get to her, I'm sure we're gonna be like, we know this lady. What is she from? And of course, she's in Swan's Crossing. So yes, she. This woman came on strong, and at first I was like, ugh. But once she made that tape, I was all about her. I'm like, yes.
She's so aggressively obsessed with the character Mila played in her television show versus Mila the real person. And she's so dramatic and over the top. She has feathered
Oh my
boas.
God.
She has a cockatiel or a cockatoo. I think that's the big one. His
I
name
think
is
so.
Tutu. Tutu. And
2-2.
she's so dramatic and so ridiculous. And I have never been more in love with a character that is so crazy. She's great. I love whenever she's on camera, I'm just glued to her.
I know she really is. I'm hoping as we get to her in other soaps. I think I wrote it down in my later notes, so I'll tell you what she's on. But she's gonna. I think she eventually comes in Ryan's Hope, which
Oh,
maybe that's how this creator got a hold of her. I don't know. So yeah, so in episode 6, I only have like 5 notes because I was just like I didn't know what was happening. I was so confused. And whoever put that montage together is brilliant because I thought it was hilarious. Were you dying? First of all, I thought like something was like repeating. I'm like, is my player something going on? Like, is something going on?
are you talking about the? Oh, are you talking? Okay, so is this has the tutu video in it, or do we not get to that to episode
No, not
7?
that's not yet. This is the first
So
one with the whole explosion and
you're
aftermath.
talking about the towers falling down, the people jumping in the water. I don't know why we needed 5 boys to jump in the water to save one girl, and then none of them really did. But like, yeah, where they just keep flashing to like Sydney yelling about no one cares about her, which was hilarious. I was dying.
Um, Sydney was hysterical. I'm like,
It's so
I'm
great.
like not even like funny hysterical, just like a natural hysterical. She's like, I'm bleeding, and like literally screaming at the top of her lungs like a lunatic, while
Uh-huh.
Mila is like supposedly drowning because she can't swim. I'm like, what is happening? I was all over the place with this one.
Talk to me about Owen and the mermaid fantasy sequence where Mila is basically a clothed Venus on a half shell with a harp, I think she has. It's such a strange situation because even because out of all the boys jump in the water to try and save Mila because whatever reasons, I guess. No one wanted her to drown, which is great. But they all jump into the water and the girls just start screaming. They do nothing to help. They don't throw life preservers in. The adults are standing there. They're doing nothing. The towers have
No,
fallen down. The towers turn out to be just like lifeguard stands. They didn't really look that dangerous when they fell down.
they did
Everyone's
not at all.
screaming. There's chaos. Everyone's going crazy. This girl is drowning for what feels
Yeah.
like the whole episode. And
It was. I feel like I put the time. I think it was like 9 minutes. She was drowning at one point.
I just was like, can none of these women swim? None of these girls can swim. They were all watching the boys take their shoes off, take their jackets. All this time, this girl is drowning, and they're
Yeah.
slowly getting ready to jump in the water. They jump in, and the girls just keep screaming. They do nothing. They scream,
No.
and in this cacophony, Sydney is screaming louder because her face is bleeding, and no
She has
one
a little
cares.
little cut on her lip. She's like,
Hilarious.
I'm bleeding.
But the whole
Wow.
thing is like in the water. Um, Bob, somebody hits their head. I think Bobby hits his head on a pylon and has to be rescued. And Owen is swimming with drumsticks. He never dropped his drumsticks. And Sandy is like, he's going to drown. How can he swim with drumsticks?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is happening? But I loved
I
this episode. It was bizarre.
it was so bizarre. I had to watch it twice. Like it was that crazy.
It was bizarre. Also, did you
I,
notice that Garrett's catchphrase is, "Ooh, I love myself," because he's said it
um,
a bunch of times.
how could I not? So yeah, at the one part, yeah, I was talking about when Sydney, I guess has like I guess we're supposed to be like as I guess we watched the first 5, so that was like Monday through Friday.
Right.
So then the next 5, I guess it was kind of like a recap, but the
Mhm.
recap kept like showing Sydney say, what was she saying? Uh, I hope she's not prettier than me or something like that over and over again. And then it would show like little clips, and then I hope she's not prettier than me. I hope she's not prettier than me. I'm like, what is happening?
So I took one film class, so I have no expertise. But this feels like the experimental videos they would show us, where it was like people screaming and lights and smoke. And a lot of Swan's Crossing's filmography, the cinematography in this feels very much like they told them they could do whatever they wanted and they decided to be really weird with it. And that freaked me out when she's just like, what if she's prettier than me? cut to scene. What if she's prettier than me? And I'm like, I am in it's an experimental video. It's fascinating. Like, it's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. I like, yeah, I hardly have any words for it. I really,
It's so
literally, I even put like water dancing with somebody, like, I don't even know what was happening. I don't know, like,
I wrote, why is there glitter in the water? What is happening with the fantasy sequence? I
yeah,
don't know what's
like,
happening.
so like Mila's drowning, and like I think Owen like has a fantasy of like her arms out, like, come rescue me, like type thing.
Yeah, she keeps
Uh,
mouthing, rescue me, rescue me. And
yeah.
he swims to her and asks later, he says, I just followed the music. And I'm like, is Owen on drugs? I don't
I
know.
feel like we needed to be on drugs for this episode for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And that, so then it ends up with like, I guess Garrett finally gets to Sydney because oh, I think Callie, doesn't Callie step up and say something kind of cool? She's like, oh, she's hysterical, or not hysterical, but in shock. So Callie, I feel like, is a doctor all of a sudden. It's like she's
Cal
like really like,
I'm
yeah,
starting to really, really dislike the character of Callie because she is I don't know, she's like too much. So in this episode, I did liked that
shit.
she was like, because Sydney said something really mean about like, who cares if Mila drowns, basically. And she goes, the only
Yeah,
reason you would say something that mean is if you're in shock. You're in
yeah,
shock.
yeah,
So she does give her an out, and I like that. I like that she gave Sydney an out in that situation because I do kind of think that Sydney was in shock more about how nobody gave a shit that she was injured and everyone was
right,
focusing on someone else. But in that case, Mila was drowning.
yeah.
So it's, I don't know. But the
And
fantasy
then,
sequences are so strange, and I kind
oh
of
my
love
gosh.
them. I kind of love
They
them.
really are. And so it ends with Garrett holding Sydney. And then unfortunately for us, we get we get a 5-minute video of the theme song, which no one asked for.
Oh,
Nobody asked
God.
for this.
What was that? They were like
Um
introducing the character of, and then they did 5 minutes of them dancing to that song that they ran
that
out of
theme
script.
song. Yeah, right. And I feel like they could have prolonged that. I mean, especially that episode. There could have been other things happening to other people, maybe. I don't
There's a
know.
ton of filler in that episode for supposed
Yeah,
to being like the conclusion of the Friday's craziness. It was just
right.
kind of like you said, they're repeating sequences. They're focusing in on Sydney's insecurity, but like in a strange way. And like that ending
Yes.
part where it's just at the soda shop and they just have the jukebox. Someone puts a coin in and they're like introducing Mila, I can't, Ravsnovsky. And then
Rosnowski, yeah.
they all do the dance that they do at the beginning of every, and it's just 5 minutes of it. And I thought it was going to give us something else, and it
No.
didn't. Oh, by the way, that girl whose name we didn't know last week because they never
Yes,
introduced her name
I
is
got
Nancy.
her.
Yeah.
Nancy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
By the
I did
way,
hear it
still
eventually.
still no information about her, where she came from, who she is, what's going on. They said her name one
No,
time.
and Sandy really took a back burner this week. I forgot
Yeah.
she was even there. I was like,
She was on the docks with all the girls screaming,
yeah,
and her only interaction in that was to be worried about Owen, who she then said could not swim because he had his drumsticks.
right.
But yeah,
All
Sandy
right.
did take a big step back.
So let's move on. So we get to episode 7, um, where was it? So Garrett was holding Sydney's hand while she got cleaned up. I guess she had a flashback of something that didn't happen in the last episode that we saw. I guess she went to the doctor or hospital or
I
got
don't
patched up.
know if that happened because it was referenced by Glory, which indicates that it may have happened that he was very sweet to her in the hospital. But
Right.
the way it's, again, the filming is, they make some strange choices.
Yeah,
But
it's
like,
weird.
because Sydney doesn't seem to have a grasp on reality, so like I don't know if we're supposed to see the world through her very skewed view or what's happening there. But
Yeah.
they flashed back to it, and I was like you, I'm like, is this a fantasy sequence or did this happen? And I think because Glory referenced it, it may have happened because Garrett is so confusing.
That's part of the reason I watched the other episode again, because I'm like, maybe I missed something. So I watched it again and I didn't see that scene. But you know what? They might have cut it for time back then, maybe. And it was
Hmm.
actually like maybe a bonus footage somewhere hidden somewhere that we'll never see. But
Sure.
but yeah. Um so the mayor sees Sydney's picture on the paper with Garrett, because I
Can
guess
I
somebody caught that
can
picture.
I make a comment about how
Of
that looks
course.
like the Pieta from like it's very much a very dramatic Renaissance posing on the
Yeah.
front cover of this newspaper. And I for one loved
Hmm.
it. I thought that's incredible. There was no need for that. And it was amazing. And I just loved it. It was so dramatic.
Right. Yes, it was. Um, we have Mila's mom, Countess, praising Noah.
Oh, you mean Owen? Or
Owen, was it Owen? Oh yeah, yeah, Owen. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
because for saving Mila, because he out of all the five guys that dove in is the one that saved her.
Because he followed the music.
Follow the music. He's good like that.
Yeah.
Um,
He still looks like he's 10 though. I don't know how he can be in any sort of
I
romantic
know he really
storyline.
does.
He looks very young.
I did look him up, and I think he's the same age as everybody. He
He's
just,
just
I guess, he just looks
small.
younger.
Yeah, he
There's
looks
always
very
been
young.
those few kids that looked a lot younger.
Yeah,
There was,
true.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even in my class, like I remember there was one in high school with me that I went to grade school with, and he looked like he could go to first grade again. Like he was that young looking. I was like,
Well,
because
some
they
people
foxed
they
him
have
good.
that late growth spurt, and then you don't see them for a year, and then they go from looking like a child to a man in like 5 seconds.
Right,
It's but yeah,
right.
maybe Owen will do that. Oh, what's? I guess they're setting us up for Bobby and Callie in this episode.
Yeah. Is it Bob? No, wait. Yeah,
No,
Bobby and
not.
Callie, right? Or
Well,
Johnny.
it seems to be Jimmy and Callie and
Oh,
Bobby and
Jimmy.
Callie
I'm
because
like Johnny.
Callie went to see Bobby to make sure he was okay because he banged his head. By the way, in the
Yeah.
last episode, he had the dumbest line ever. He's just like, "What are the sound of towers falling?" And then in this one, he's like, "Am I a boy who thinks he's a balloon or a balloon that thinks he's a boy?" And I'm like, "Bobby, please stop talking."
I don't I don't understand Bob. I don't speak Bobby. I forget he's there a lot.
He's not as notable as his sister in this episode because for whatever
Yeah.
reason she's aggressively angry with Jimmy, but there doesn't
Hmm.
seem to be a reason behind it, and then she goes to the party that's later in the episode with another boy, and the comment from JT is, "Well, they're the same height."
It's very entertaining. Yeah, so I have Sophia and Callie meet, and she's kind of like bitchy toward Callie
She is very much so.
for no good reason. I guess
Mm.
I guess maybe it's a type of like a paint and place type thing, like new girl in town, be a bitch, but I don't know. I feel like they're always nice on paint and place
I just still feel like no, they're not. They're just they smile at you while I stab you in the back. But you know, they're always like they're at the bookstore talking about how you shouldn't be getting married in a white dress because you're a whore. But
Right, right,
but I think the situation is like I feel like there's some sort of jealousy because Jimmy showed up with Callie, even though Callie was there to see Bobby. And she
right,
just was so like Jimmy looked confused by the whole situation. He didn't understand why Sophia was not sweet to him like she normally is because she has been creepily hitting on him for the last couple episodes. So like
yeah.
he seemed like completely lost by the situation. So that's why I don't know if they're setting up Callie for Jimmy or if they're setting up Callie for Bobby. And I really don't think she should be with anyone until she figures out what kind of person she is. She's very strange. I know I say that a lot, but yeah, strange.
I mean, it's all strange, really.
I
I'm
didn't.
always like,
I love this episode though.
oh yeah, I mean, it's very entertaining. We'll say that. It's very entertaining. The phone call.
Oh, okay. Some of the greatest cinematography that I have ever seen in a children's show is this four-way phone call.
Was it? Yeah, it was just 4, right? Not 5. It was just
It
4.
was initially what was it? Sydney and
Sydney
Nancy,
and Nancy.
and then
Then Glory called, right?
her mother.
And then her mother's on the phone. And then she puts one on hold and gets the other and the other on hold. And I forget what her plan, what was her issue? She was trying to figure out a way to see Garrett.
So there was a lot going on. First, everybody
It was
got invited back to the weird soda shop that we all know is not a bar, but is basically the
Swans,
children's bar, the Swans Crossing.
Swans,
Yeah.
Swans.
So they go to Swans. Everyone was invited to Swans to basically be thanked for not letting Mila drown. So they were all there. And Sydney did not get the invitation because she was at the hospital, and that scene with Garrett happened. So she wanted to talk to Garrett, and that's how she found out about the party. Nancy called her to give her the scoop on everything that was going down. Glory called to help her get in touch with Garrett. Her mother called to find out if a Mason had been there yet, which we find out later is her mother walled up the hole in the wall where the two, Garrett and Sydney, usually talk to each other, which, by the way, you could walk 2 feet and be around that wall. So I don't know why.
Well, I guess, we're not supposed to think that.
I know. We're not supposed to think that. But like, I actually did feel bad for them because they were trying to talk to each other. And
Yeah, that was funny.
And the best part of this entire episode is their long hangout in Sydney's car where they discuss their evil plans, I guess, to be together.
Yeah. Real quick, back to this call.
Sure.
So she puts everybody on hold and then puts her lipstick on. And we don't really know if she gets back on the phone or she just leaves them hanging. And everybody's like, Sydney, Sydney, Sydney.
She hung up on all of them. They don't go on hold when you hang up the receiver. She hung up on everyone. She was done talking to them. Also, can we just talk about the fact that her two besties came to her house to make sure she was okay, and instead of being in her bed, she's laying on a fainting couch, being dramatic as anything, and that her mother's like, she really needs to rest. And she's like, no, my friends. And she's like, she nearly needs to rest because she saw that newspaper.
This was Nancy and Glory, right?
Nancy and Glory, yeah, they were there. And then they left to go to the party at the soda shop.
Right.
But her laying on a fainting couch in a white diaphanous outfit with the red band around her head and the tiny Band-Aid, and I loved it.
I know, it was. And then we end this episode with the computer men get some kind of clearance to open an envelope.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I think it does officially. So they showed this little weird clip with that. I don't really get what's happening there at all. And then Sydney and Garrett with the rock wall.
Right. That was my favorite part. The only other thing I want to mention in this episode is we see Garrett and Glory's dad, because they are on the docks arguing over whose fault it was that the towers fell. And they're there with the reporter because we haven't seen Grant Booth yet. So they were yelling at each other and blaming each other, where she was saying it was his fault and he was saying it was her fault.
Okay, so that was him. I wasn't sure because I'm like, I didn't think he would be introduced that briefly because I felt like but again, it's a kids show, so we're more seeing like all the kids stuff.
The parents aren't as important. We also get to meet. Right. We don't get to meet, I don't think, unless that adult is him. But Neil's father turns out to be the head of a cosmetics company.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote it down because I was like, who is that? And they were like, Atwater Cosmetics.
Which one's Neil? The science boy, right? Oh, that's Noah.
The one that hates women in the next episode.
Noah. That's Noah, right?
Neil. His name is Neil.
Is it Neil?
Mm-hmm. I don't know why you think there's a Noah in this show. Because it's 90s.
I guess I named him Noah. Maybe that's what I feel like he looks like a Noah.
His name is Neil Atwater.
Is it really Neil?
Yeah.
I've been calling him Noah the entire time.
Wow.
Because I have Noah. I gotta pay more attention. I don't know what's happening.
You have notes.
Yeah, but I have Noah at all my notes.
Because
So,
I wrote in my notes, Neil has zero humor. You know, I'm like, I don't know
all
what that
right.
was
So
for.
anyone listening, Noah and Neil are the same person. His name was actually Neil.
I actually wrote the hole is gone, can't they walk around?
Oh my God. So yeah, we're in episode 8 now. Yeah, shit gets real with Neil Noah. uh what do they do? I don't even know what they're doing half the time. They're doing some kind of project
they
on the
are
computer.
they are doing a science experiment where they need a lot of supplies because they do talk to a teacher who I believe his name was Han, Professor Han,
Yes.
or Dr.
Mhm.
Han. And they went to him and they're like, Professor Han's like, basically, you're doing too much work. Are you guys going to like relax anytime soon? Neil, you're a little high strung. And JT's like, oh, we're going to the party at the soda shop or whatever. And he's like, good, go have fun. Because like Neil's like, I'd rather like die than have fun. I'm like, Neil, relax. But
Yeah, he's
th-
hardcore.
he scares me a little bit because like he's a little psychotic about his obsession with science because it's like
Right.
he has nothing else and he's actually actively ruining JT's life with his obsession. He's ruining JT's
Yeah.
attempts to have a girlfriend. He's like interfering with JT's relationship with his sister and he's climbing in the window to scream at him all the
So
time.
yeah, let's mention that real quick because I feel like
Sure.
that might be important coming up. So when they're hanging out in his room, they're doing whatever thing on the computer. Um, Glory comes in with Katie, who is JT's younger sister, and he screams like Sydney did in the last episode, like like insane. I'm like, what is happening, dude?
He has
Like, get it
almost he
together.
has almost a psychotic break where he
Yeah,
starts screaming that women ruin everything and that everything is
yeah.
girls' fault because girls always interrupt and girls are ruining the science and girls are ruining everything. And it's like a real like if
Mhm.
that happened in real life, if you were talking to someone and they went insane and started shouting all this stuff, you would never speak to that person again.
Right.
Like that little
You
girl
know,
brought in a little clay bed she made and he started shouting in her face.
this actually reminds me of Miko's Cassadine
Oh,
because he acts the same way. He acts
yeah.
the same way with women.
Mhm.
So yeah, if there should be a general hospital writer in this staff because it would be writing for this kid. Um,
It really threw me because before this, I actually really enjoyed Neil as like, oh,
yeah,
he's a big science nerd. But this took a turn for like I felt like it was too much.
yeah, it
It was
was.
it was scary a little bit.
But I'm guessing it's gonna lead to something, but maybe it
I
doesn't. I
would
don't know.
hope so, but he is actively tampering with things to ruin other
Yeah.
people's day because he can't have fun at a party.
Oh, and so who is it? I think does JT like lift Katie and put her on the computer and it hits the mouse by accident?
Yes, it actually squishes the thing she made and it
Right.
bumps the mouse and Neil loses his mind. And it was JT just playing with he was playing with his little sister because
Right.
she was laughing, he was laughing, and then Neil went crazy again.
And he doesn't blame JT. He blames the little sister. He gives up
Yes,
on her.
because it's girls' fault. It's all girls'
Right.
fault.
It's all
And
the girl's fault.
at one point, Glory interrupts him to talk about one of the people he was talking shit on, and she goes, "Well, she's a woman, you know." And I'm like, "Yeah, Glory." And I keep thinking, like, as much as I kind of like JT and Glory together, I don't like this setup where JT is using her to watch his sister, and like she's volunteering for it, but I feel like she's such a doormat in a lot of ways for these
Yeah.
boys. And then to date someone whose best friend is a psycho, it's I don't
Well,
like
it's
it.
probably also so he can see her, like randomly, because I guess there's no other way for these kids to see each other,
Yeah, I
for
think
some
that's
reason.
true. I think that's true. But
Yeah.
I didn't like that. And it continues on into the next episode. So like
Yeah.
I didn't like that at all.
So I have at one part, Sydney is on a giant car phone. It's like this big, huge.
So big. Do you know what though? That's the size of them. When
Oh, that's when.
my father had a car
Okay.
phone, it looked just like a regular phone, and
Yeah.
it was just plugged into the car.
Yeah, I remember it looked regular, but this phone looked especially big. I don't
'Cause
know,
it was
bigger
a
than a
portable.
regular.
Because it was a portable and it
Yeah, it
had to
was
have that we used to call them bricks.
right.
It looks like a brick.
So this is the episode where Garrett and Sydney. Oh, they make plans to see each other.
I love
Oh
this
yeah,
scene.
they meet in the car. Um, they want to use Mila and they make a contract. So I guess that he doesn't fall for Mila. It's
So
really crazy.
first off, she says go to plan B and he doesn't know what that is. And she's been sitting in her car for hours waiting for him to turn up. And he turns up
Right.
and the car is full of posters for the mayoral campaign that her mother just wore. That's what they use to write on. They take mayoral flyers and they're writing on the back of them this huge list of do's and don'ts in their relationship. And I actually really like them together in this scene. I thought it was adorable. I wrote in my notes villains in love. I thought this plan was hilarious.
Yeah,
It was just such a fun moment because often you find
it
yourself
was.
going, do Garrett and Sydney actually like each other?
Like
And
each other or not. And I guess with that hospital scene, which I'm glad they showed the flashback, um, because then we knew they actually kind of did care about each other, even though, Sydney was not dying with that little cut on her lip. But but yeah, it was nice to see them get together and have like a normal conversation and stop being weird. And then they go to kiss and that giant car phone rings.
so funny.
And then oh yeah, the weird dude in the mechanic shop. What was that about? I'm like, what is
I
happening?
believe his name was Fats. And
Yeah, I did write Fats, and then he has
he's
Callie and Jimmy are there, and I guess are they working for him or
it looks like Jimmy was working there. Um and Fats is like a cross between a hippie and a beat poet, the way he comes
yeah,
across. And I think what
yeah,
happened is Callie walked in and said, "Can I work on my bike? Can I use your tools to work on my bike?" And he said, "Sure, whatever." Because when Jimmy came in and he was mad that Callie was using his tools, Fats is like, anyone who knows how to use the tools can use the tools. So like he was very egalitarian of him. And he's talking
right,
about going on a long journey and basically leaving the shop to them to use. They are not 18. I don't know how that would work. But it does seem
yeah, I
like
don't know,
Jimmy is working at the shop and she is being, I don't want to say obnoxious because Jimmy's also being obnoxious, but both of them are trying to out knowledge each other about tools, which is, I don't know,
yeah,
it's like a pissing contest to me.
yeah, yeah. Then we have a scene with Countess and Margaret, the mayor, is Sydney's mom. They're like talking about having tea together. So I'm like, were they friends before? Like,
Yes,
did you get the feeling they were friends before, right?
they mention it later. They mention it in the next episode.
So I guess she moved when Mila was a baby. I don't know. Because if Mila's the new girl in town, wouldn't she be like coming back
I
to town?
I believe that both her and Callie, like their parents are from the town. And because Callie's father was from the town because he says he has a house in town. And also
Right.
Mila had a house, it was boarded up and they went to that house. So these people I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like Dynasty. No one ever leaves the house. It's like that. You
Right.
have to. Your room comes back. You always come back to the house.
So Garrett and Sid come up with that plan to like get close to Mila, be her best friend type thing. So
Mhm.
Sydney ends up going to Mila's bedroom. It takes an elevator to get up there. She's like, it's a huge. I put huge and pink. It's a
So
huge pink room.
the first thing I thought was that this is not a 90s bedroom. This is an 80s bedroom, and it is so pink.
I don't think there's anything other than pink and
Mhm.
navy white, but I thought I saw pink.
It was pink.
Um, she has a heel phone.
Love. I loved that. By the way,
Apparently, apparently anything Mila wanted to make a phone, her mom gets made a phone. She has a bear phone, which Sydney answers at one point. I think that's in the next episode. But yeah. Oh, and the wall spins like Batgirl.
Yeah. And on the other side is like a vanity table with her like a lit mirror and the makeup. And I was like, wow, I want that. Not for the makeup, just like this the Scooby-Doo wall. I want the Scooby-Doo wall.
I, f- I feel like we need to like drink and watch the show.
Yeah,
Have a
definitely.
few in us
Ugh.
because that's what I feel like I'm doing. All right, so now we're in episode 9. Uh, Garrett calls Mila. I guess he wants to start getting his in with her. Sydney answers the phone, and he's already starting like when Sydney answers the phone. What is I forget what he says, but he says something like,
Flirty.
yeah, something flirty, and she's like, "What? Who are you talking to?" I don't know if this is part of their plan or not because I don't know. I don't know what to expect from these people.
Garrett seems to not know how to talk to any woman that isn't Glory. Like he flirts with any
Yeah,
woman he talks to, that's how he does. He does the flirting. I don't think he's genuinely interested in Mila yet. If he's going to be, I think he's trying to be her friend. But I think that's
right.
how he thinks he talks to women.
Yeah, I think you're right. It did seem like that.
Because why would he sit in a car for 2 hours making a list of ways to be with Sydney if he just wants to be with Mila? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And then we have Neil and JT send a message to foreign agents. That's what I put because I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, the
So
foreign agent people are
so
getting involved again.
the two of them have made up an alter ego that is a super spy. And then they've hacked a bunch of things because remember, illegal
By
data breach.
accident, I'm
But
assuming. Yeah.
no, they did. I think they did it intentionally. And now it's alerted a bunch of foreign governments. I believe there's Russians this time and maybe the French. I'm not really sure.
I'm not
They it's the same scene. They just changed the lighting to let you know it's a different country, which thanks. I appreciated that. And
sure.
and they are doing that. And Neil again is insane. He doesn't want to go to the party. He doesn't want to do anything. Oh,
Right.
just because is episode 8 the one where we get to the Mila birthday part, the surprise party thing?
No, I think that's 9. This is
Oh,
this episode now that we're in. Yeah, we're coming. It's coming.
okay, because like it kind of blends together in that
So
situation.
Callie mentions a job at Tool and Die, which I guess is that the mechanic place. I'm not really sure, but it made me think of Dallas, Wentworth Tool and Die, with
Oh,
Cliff working for his mama.
hmm.
But anywho, I'm just like Tool and Die. Wait, is this Dallas reference? What's happening?
And then they all
But
went to the store.
Dallas just went off the air the year before. So, um, oh, so Glory is in JT's room, I guess because she was watching Katie, and Katie's like digging through his shit, and she finds like
Yeah.
her spelling book. I was confused. He like had her
So
spelling book under his
first
hammock there.
off, first can we talk about how awesome this little girl is? She is an incredible
Yeah.
actress. She acts exactly like your bratty little sister. And
Mm,
she just runs around going, we can just look through his stuff. First off, JT sleeps in a hammock. He doesn't have a bed. So it's really easy
yeah.
to look under his bed. And
Yeah.
Glory takes the finding of her old spelling book as some kind of cue that JT loves her. It's
Right.
very like sad. It's sad.
It is. It's well, I mean, it's teeny, angsty, cutesy type shit
It's cute.
and
It's
sad.
sad. Yeah.
I mean, if it were an adult, it would probably be more
It would be
sad.
so sad. If it was an adult, I would be like, that's pathetic. But this is like it's teeny bopper stuff. Teeny bopper stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody, let's get to this VHS tape. This is the time.
Okay, remember
Ev-
though that everybody goes like that Mila is at a swim lesson with Garrett while all of this is happening. Everyone's getting this tape. They all get a
Right.
VHS tape.
Everybody gets a VHS tape. Um, wow, this tape was made me fall in love with Countess. Did you write what was on the tape? I don't even know. So there's like a song. It's like it's an invitation to Mila's surprise party.
Mm-hmm.
birthday party.
Yes.
Um, it mentions Tutu, the bird.
The bird seems to be the host of this video. As like the bird, they're singing, and it's like Mila, Mila. It's crazy. And it's focusing on the bird, and there's like a background that's like moving, and it just gives the information for the party, and it's so
It's like,
utterly
Ma
humiliating.
Mama loves Mila, Tutu loves Mila.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like everybody, yes, it's funny, but at the same time, I feel like everybody was like, OMG. What is this? What is happening here?
I have never done acid, but I feel like this video is what an acid trip might be.
Surprise! Surprise! Party! Party! Surprise! Surprise! Birthday party! Birthday party! She is beautiful to see. It's wonderful to be Mila. Mila. Showstopper. Mila. Showstopper. Mila. Sugar without spice. All little girls should be as nice as Mila. 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 She is Mama's little girl. There's no one in the world like Mila. Baby doll. Baby doll. Baby doll. What a little pearl. Watch the flags unfurl for Mila. She's the one for me. A face everyone should love. Mama loves Mila. Tutu loves Mila. You too love Mila. Mila loves you. Happy birthday, Friday. Happy birthday, Mila. Tutu loves Mila. Swan, Friday. Friday, 8 o'clock. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Oh, this is worse than a funeral.
Who would do this to her?
Most definitely. Um, so yeah, so she finds out, I think, does she find out? Yeah, Sydney met with her to tell her. She's like, I'm gonna tell her. I don't know if she was doing it to be mean. I feel like she might have been, but I thought it was a really nice thing to do because you needed to be warned about this fucking tape.
I believe she's playing both sides of the fence. I think she did it because it was the right thing to do, because springing that on Mila would have been cruel beyond anything. And I think
Seriously.
even she, like, it's weird. I think she wants to be friends with Mila, but
Right.
she's also so incredibly insecure she doesn't actually know how to be friends
Yeah.
with anyone unless she's using them for something, and she can't really
Right.
use Mila. But I do think she did that as out of, I thought that was a kindness, honestly. I
It
was
was a
actually proud of
kindness for
her.
sure.
I was proud of her.
Me too, yeah. So yeah, she tells her so she knows, and Mila basically cries, and she's like, "It's not even my birthday."
It
So I'm
seems
like, does
like,
her mom not know her birthday, or just like to throw parties
now remember when I
and
said
embarrass her?
that her mom seems to be more obsessed with the character she played on television than who she is. So
Right.
I'm starting to think that maybe that this is the character's birthday instead of her daughter's
Oh,
birthday.
I didn't even
And
think of that.
she's so sadly obsessed with the idea of being a normal girl. It's heartbreaking. She's just like, I just want to be normal. Poor Mila.
So on that note, we'll get into episode 10. We have, oh, your boy's back. Ralph, his name is. I think I called him something else before. Because
Who's my
clearly I
boy?
don't know anybody's names.
Which one is my boy?
Sydney's little butler man, helper friend, whatever you want to call him.
Oh, I forget his name. I want to say Richard.
I think I called him Richard, but it's actually Ralph. I did
Okay.
make note.
When he
I
came
think I
back, I
called
was
him
like,
Richard.
yay.
Yeah, Ralph was helping Sydney and the Countess with Mila's party. If I were Mila, I probably would have hid for the day. But she took it like a champ, that girl. I like her. She's
I
got
do.
balls.
I think Mila loves her mother. Like, there's no way
Hmm.
you would go through with that if you didn't love your mother, because she had every chance, because Sydney gave her the out. She had every chance to escape, even though she was wearing a hot pink 80s prom dress when she showed up to this party. She was like, I can't go in there looking like this. And
Right?
Garrett's just like, who cares? And he's very sweet with her, and he's like, I thought that was friendship.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, Neil
I
and
feel like,
Jimmy are jerks and they ruined the cake.
oh yeah, so here's my note about her. So at this point, I was like, I gotta look up this countess. So yeah, her real name is Delphi. I don't know how you say her name. It's probably Delphi or I don't know, but it's
Probably
Delphi
Delphi.
Harrington. She's still alive. She's still with us. She just acted in an episode of Blue Bloods last year, which is a very popular show.
Awesome.
She also did plenty of soaps, and we're gonna probably see her. Like I said, she's gonna be in Ryan's Hope, Edge of Night,
Oh
not
God.
till not till 1982. We're only in 1980.
Okay.
All My Children, and Guiding Light. So she got around. She so popped, and I'm loving this woman. And like I said, by the time we get to her, we're gonna be like, we know this lady, but we're gonna be done Crossing like probably for a year at least. So we're gonna be like, who is she? Unless she stands out as much as she does in this. Um, yeah. So we still have those foreign agents around. They're again in this
They're
episode.
getting closer.
This is when they went to the teacher, that Mr. Whatever, what is
Mr.
his name?
Hahn, I think is Mr.
Um,
Hahn.
yeah. I have Noah and Neil and JT goes to teacher. I can't believe I call him Noah. That's so weird. I
Your
have it
brain.
written all the time. Seriously, I'm losing it. Um, so Countess gets Garrett to get Mila to the party, and she goes willingly. She's like, I'll just do it, even though she really doesn't want to.
Garrett helps her. He gives her a pep talk to go in.
He does. He gives her the pep talk, which is really nice of him. He did really good. I was proud of him then because, he loves himself, as we saw 25 times. Um, yeah, well, I think Garrett is like trying to keep it a secret at first, and then she tells him that she knows. She's like, I know, what we're doing, and I'm not excited about it. I made note that there was swans in the punch bowl.
Me too. The cake was a swan too.
Now, we haven't seen a swan for a while. So there
A
needed to be
real.
swans somewhere.
So they were so cute, by the way. The tiny little swans in the
They
punch
were they
bowl.
were cute.
Loved it.
Oh, I had to tell the people watching. I did tell you separately that the guy that plays Callie's dad is Uncle Frank from Home Alone. Look what you did, you little jerk. He's the little submarine. He's the submarine man who we didn't see this time, and I kind of missed him. I want to see him like once a week.
He was mentioned, but not like
Yeah,
on
it was
screen.
mentioned.
They talked about how weird it was that Callie lived in a submarine. Garrett seemed to think it was cool. JT seemed to think it was cool. Everyone
Yeah,
else is like, that's dumb. So it
this
was
is
cool that he got mentioned. I like that.
this is the line that you were talking about. Bobby wants to know what it's like to be a balloon. I made note of that.
I wrote, what is wrong with Bobby?
Um, Apparently Sydney created the Mila float. That's what I got from that. The Mila float was like the little milkshake that nobody
I
liked that was
I
going
thought
around.
the Countess did that. I get maybe she did, but so
She said that
again,
Sydney did.
we have a float that is ridiculous. This one's pink, and it has a star on the straw with a picture of Mila as like a 10-year-old, which is so humiliating.
It was
And
this whole thing was
Nancy,
humiliating.
yeah, and Nancy and Sydney did. They were talking about her and laughing, and I didn't particularly like that because it's like, Sid, come on, are you friends or are you not friends? I don't understand Sydney's motivations half the time.
Right.
Insecurity, just insecurity, I think. And Neil and JT ruined the cake. That's like the biggest thing is I don't even understand what, not JT, Jimmy. And I don't understand Jimmy's motivation. I know he's upset
Right.
about Sophia showing up with a taller guy. But
So weird.
Neil looked like he just wanted to ruin the party because the party
Yeah.
was either for women or because it was a party and he hates parties. And I like
Yeah.
this is why I'm like getting a little nervous about where is Neil's storyline going because he's turning
Right.
into like a little bit of a villain.
Yeah, I'm curious too. So yeah, we have Neil and Jimmy are like brooding, and there's lines in this that would probably not be in anything anymore. I don't know if you caught it. He's like, "You look like you can shoot somebody," to Jimmy, and he's like, "Can you shoot me first?"
Okay, so I love that because I would have talked that way.
Right. But at
But
the same time now, you're like,
ooh,
that
yeah,
might happen, unfortunately. Um, I have Countess makes Mila do pictures in her crown, and Garrett has like devil ears or whatever it was,
yeah. Sydney,
and
Sydney gets a halo.
Sydney Sydney
So they're
gets
the
the
angel
halo.
and the devil on Mila's shoulders, but I think they both got the wrong hats. They should have both either got devil horns or in that instance, I believe Garrett earned the halo.
Right. And then I have like they did some dancing.
Oh,
Sydney
the
grabs
dancing.
Bobby to dance, which I thought was weird because I'm like, I didn't even know she knew Bobby. I don't remember them
She
like,
just didn't want Garrett dancing with Mila and her to not have someone to dance with.
right.
And Bobby was like, I don't dance. I don't even want to dance. And she just was like, I don't even care and made him dance.
Yeah. Then that weird so yeah, Jimmy and Neil do like get an idea of like to like kind of ruin the party or something. So they get under the table and they I guess play I don't know what they do
They
exactly.
sped up the table because the cake was
So oh
supposed
yeah, it
to
was slowly
spin
spinning.
and they
Right.
made it so it would go really fast. And so the cake flew off and started hitting people in the face, which,
Cake,
add
yeah.
injury to insult for poor Mila. This is just turned into a nightmare.
So they're doing really good with the Friday cliffhangers. I feel like
Okay, so
that was a fun one.
the first week I was like, why am I watching this? But But this week, I believe I'm Stockholm syndrome into it because I really am starting to get invested. And where I felt like I really got invested was when Garrett and Sydney were in the car
In the
because
car.
I thought it was really excellent writing. I thought the interplay between them and how they were like I kept saying to myself, I'm like, they're villains in love and I'm rooting for them. And
Right, right.
that kind of really had me going. I was like, I can get into this. And then Neil
Villains in love.
scared the crap out of me. I was like, what is happening
Yeah.
with Neil? So like that kind of sucked me in. And
Is he gonna have a parent to help him or what?
I think we may have seen his father, although he wasn't introduced because there was an adult man who walked through the party who hasn't been introduced yet. And
Okay.
I mean, Neil is the only black character on the show, and this man was black. So, like, unless they're trying to like expand their cast, he may be Mr. Atwater. Like, 'cause
Right.
we don't have a lot of diversity in the cast as of yet.
No, not
So
really.
we'll have to see what happens with that. But like, unless that was like an attempt at that, but they seem to introduce the parents randomly and with no thought. Like they're just there.
Yeah.
Like Grant Booth was just there, and we only knew he was Grant because Margaret was yelling at him.
Right.
So like it just seems like the adults are an afterthought. So I don't really know how they're handling that, except for of
Right, right.
course the Countess, who is incredible.
Oh my gosh, she is great.
Her her
I want to see
dress,
more of her.
her boa, her singing the Mila song directly to Mila. What a nightmare.
I know, I know.
She means well. I feel like if I were Mila, it would be like, how do you tell your mother to stop loving you so loud in public? Because that's what she's
Seriously,
doing. But she's like a
I know.
typical mom. She's like, my little girl, my little baby. And it's like, Mila is a film star and she's used to being an adult and you're treating her like she's
Yeah.
10. It's,
Yep,
I don't
yep.
know. So yeah, they got me. Stupid show.
All right. Well, we should wrap this up. Do you have anything else about these 5 episodes that we should discuss?
The only thing I want to talk about is when Garrett was supposedly teaching Mila how to swim, Mila was sitting in a pool float drinking while Garrett was swimming around her. And I think that bears mentioning.
I'm sure she was just drinking pink lemonade. Don't Fans don't get
I didn't
upset.
think it was an alcoholic drink, you weirdos. They're
I'm
children.
not. Like I said, drinking. I didn't know what people would think. Mila's a
Disclaimer.
good girl. I like Mila. I thought I was
A lot.
not gonna like her just because I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like hot, annoying blonde girl. and I judged her, and then I feel bad, and I'm like, Mila's a good girl. I like her a lot, and she has a crazy ass mother, so I feel a little bit bad for
I think
her.
that's the point. I think they brought her in and they're like, she's this hot shot from Hollywood. And really, when you get to know her, she's just this child who never gets what she wants because she has to keep up this image. Because even with the stuffed animals, she said, I'd get rid of them, but my mom loves them. So everything in her life is dictated
Yeah,
by
she
what
lives
the
for her
countess
mother.
wants. Yeah. It's sad. And
Right.
it makes her complicated. So I do like
It
her.
does. It does.
Um, I think it's getting better, to be honest with you. Pilots are always rough. The first week seems rough. But
Yeah, yeah.
I think after the Monday episode of repeats and the towers falling multiple times and the weirdness, the rest of the episodes seem to even out, and I
Yeah, yeah, they
liked
did.
them a lot. But they did spend way too much, maybe not. They spent way too much time playing that VHS tape, except I kind of want to say they didn't because I loved it, but they did play it a lot.
They honestly probably could have done that whole like knowing soaps as we do. Like they probably could have made a week out of that collapse alone.
Yeah.
Like really.
Yeah. I think
They
that's a
could have had
wasted like a
more
wasted
dramatic things
opportunity.
could have come out of that. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, we'll wrap up this episode with Swan's Crossing, and of course we'll continue more because we're hooked,
Yeah.
unfortunately, as Soapies get, as we don't like to. We're like, we're not gonna like this, okay? We like it a little bit. Or we at least want to know more. So subscribe, like, and comment, and find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps, and we'll see you next time.